Chapter 12. Dreams of Failure. The velvet cloak of night enveloped the kingdom, yet within her private sanctuary, sleep continued to elude Queen Monica. Even with her eyes closed, her mind refused rest, assailed by an unrelenting procession of grief and regret. The harrowing truths she had uncovered, Max's untimely death and Tren's erasure from history, gnawed relentlessly at her conscience. Together, they fed a deep-rooted survivor's guilt, a spectre that had first taken hold the moment she stood before her father's lifeless body. She feared sleep. She feared sleep not for its darkness, but for the faces of those she thought she had failed. The crown upon her brow, once a symbol of authority and hope, now felt like an anvil, crushing her beneath the weight of responsibility and remorse. Sensing their queen's unrest, her devoted handmaidens prepared a mild soporific draught, hoping to guide her gently into peaceful slumber. It did little to comfort her. The night stretched on, heavy and interminable, as Monica lay awake, a young queen, burdened not only by the fate of a kingdom, but also by the unforgiving cost of the choices she had made. When sleep finally claimed her, it offered no mercy. Her dreams did not grant refuge, but instead dragged her back to the very beginning of her suffering. She stood once more within the familiar corridors of the castle, though now they were warped and distorted, their angles bending unnaturally, as if the walls themselves recoiled in horror. Outside, the storm raged with unnatural ferocity. Rain lashed like whips against the stone, and thunder cracked with deliberate, hostile intent. Her heart thundered in her chest as she ran. Every instinct urged her to alter what she already understood was irreversible. Panic surged through her veins, and a terrible realization struck. What? The monsters are in my father's room. She ran faster. Father! The word tore from her throat, a plea, a promise, a desperate vow forged in terror. At that moment, she was neither a queen nor a ruler of nations, but merely a daughter, determined once again to protect her beloved from the encroaching darkness. Her memory presented the battle with cruel clarity. She remembered fighting 4 of Griffin's soldiers that night, but the dream betrayed her. The corridors now teemed with 12 spectral enemies, their forms warped and unreal. They moved with an agility far beyond mortal limits, parrying her blows with unnatural precision. Every strike she delivered met empty air or was effortlessly deflected, the dream twisting her skill into futility and magnifying her desperation tenfold. Still, Monica fought on. Her sole purpose was to carve a path to her father's chambers, driven by a primal need to protect him, to save him, haunted by the suffocating fear that she was already too late. Steel rang against steel as the struggle consumed her, until, at last, the final soldier fell, dissolving into the nightmare from which it had sprung. For a fleeting heartbeat, silence followed. Then a scream tore through it. "Monica!" Her blood ran cold as she spun towards the sound. "Father!" she screamed, her voice raw with panic as she broke into a sprint, terror lending speed to her limbs. From beyond the doors ahead, her father's voice echoed, ragged, desperate, punctuated by the sickening sounds of repeated stabbing. "Monica, where are you?" The cry pierced her like a blade. She reached the door, and it did not yield. Locked. Solid. Unforgiving. Terror seized her as she shouted back, her voice breaking under the weight of desperation. "Hang on, father. I'm coming." She hurled herself at the door, kicking and slamming her shoulder into it again and again. Each impact sent pain shooting through her body, but she scarcely felt it. The door loomed like a monstrous sentinel, immovable and cruel, while her father's cries beyond it grew weaker with every passing second. Time stretched into agony. Every failed attempt felt like another blade twisting into her heart. With a final, desperate surge of strength, Monica broke through. The door gave way at last, splintering beneath her assault, and she stumbled forward into silence. The devastation before her stole the air from her lungs. Her father lay motionless, his body drenched in blood, the life that had once filled him utterly gone. The image burnt itself into her mind, etched in the darkest corners of her memory. Her legs failed her. She staggered forward, each step unbearably heavy, before collapsing to her knees beside him. Gathering his lifeless form into her arms, she clutched him close, her sobs breaking free at last. "I'm sorry, Father," she whispered through cascading tears. "I'm so sorry. With all my skills, they were not enough. Not in time." But the nightmare was not content with silence. Her father's body lurched upright with violent force, his grip snapping shut around her wrist like iron. The warmth she remembered was gone. In its place was something cold, merciless. His voice carried no comfort, only judgment. "You failed me, Monica," he condemned. The words struck like a blade driven deep. "As a princess, as my daughter, you failed." Her blood turned to ice, the accusation burrowed into her chest, splitting her breath apart. She stared at him in horror as his face began to rot before her eyes, flesh peeling away, features collapsing inward until nothing remained but bone. A skull stared back at her, hollow sockets burning with accusation. "If you could not save me, how can you hope to preserve a kingdom?" The taunt echoed unnaturally, reverberating through the chamber, as though the walls themselves were complicit. Panic surged. With a cry torn from her throat, Monica shoved the skeletal spectre away with every ounce of defiance left in her body. The bones struck the wall and collapsed into a clattering heap, lifeless and still. She staggered back, panting, her heart hammering against her ribs. For a fleeting moment, she dared to hope the nightmare had spent itself. It had not. A familiar, male voice cut through the air, sharp with aggression. "He's not the only one you failed." Monica spun around. There he stood. Maximum. Her breath caught painfully in her throat as her eyes locked onto him, disbelief and dread colliding within her chest. "Max?" The figure before her was not the boy she remembered, laughing beside train platforms or fighting alongside in forgotten ruins. His posture was rigid, his expression carved from resentment. Anger radiated from him like heat from a forge. "You abandoned me, Monica," he shouted, "left me to face death alone." His face twisted with fury, the warmth and loyalty she once knew utterly erased. The sight of it shattered her. Desperation clawed its way into her voice as she tried to explain, to justify the choice that had haunted her waking hours. "I had to go home, Max. That time, that world, it wasn't mine to stay in." The words barely left her mouth before he lashed back, his response burning. "You're just like my mother," Max barked, "always leaving others behind when they need you. Remember, I was the one who pulled you out of Mount Gundor. My early death is my reward for saving you." Each word struck with surgical cruelty, reopening wounds she had never allowed to heal. The nightmare fed on her guilt, twisting love into accusation and sacrifice into condemnation. Monica, her heart heavy with the ache of her departure, turned away from Max, unable to bear the weight of his accusation. She sought to hide the storm raging behind her eyes, but the nightmare denied her even that mercy. As she pivoted, she collided with another ghost of her past, Tren. The girl stood before her, unchanged in form, yet utterly transformed in presence. The warmth that once lived in her eyes was gone, replaced by a cold, reproachful glare that sliced clean through Monica's remaining defences. "And what of me, Monica?" The words struck with venomous precision. "What about your friend whom you erased?" Monica staggered backward, breath hitching as denial and guilt tangled painfully in her chest. Her voice trembled, splintering under the strain of the truth she had never been able to voice aloud. I didn't mean to, Tren. It was never my intention. My actions, the course I took to correct time, I couldn't have known they would erase your existence." Tren did not waver. Her expression did not soften. The gaze she fixed upon Monica was unforgiving, and when she spoke again, sarcasm cut deep. "Oh, and you believe that absolves you? Is that supposed to be my comfort? To think I was mistaken in believing I meant more to you than a mere jest, a plaything for your royal amusement. Yet here is the truth laid bare. Nobility like you always dismiss the worth of common souls like mine." Each word landed like a sentence passed. The implication was unbearable, that their friendship had been disposable, that Tren had been expendable in the grand calculus of crowns and destiny. The thought tore through Monica's spirit with merciless clarity. Overwhelmed, Monica fled. She stumbled toward the balcony, desperate for air, for distance, for anything that might muffle the echoing chorus of accusation. She pushed through the doors, expecting the familiar comfort of lantern-lit streets and sleeping rooftops below. Instead, an abyss greeted her. A vast, yawning void stretched endlessly beneath her feet, swallowing all light, all certainty. A mirror of the chasm hollowed out within her chest. Still, the nightmare followed. "Where are you going, Monica?" Max's voice drifted through the darkness, no longer furious, but laced with a sorrow that cut far deeper. It was resignation, finality. Then Tren's voice joined him, sharp and inescapable. "You cannot evade the truth, Monica." They appeared beside her. Max and Tren stood together, their forms warped by time and decay, skin ashen, eyes dulled. The vitality she remembered, gnawed away by rot and neglect. They were not merely spectres of the dead. They were the embodiment of everything she believed she had destroyed. Paralyzed, Monica could not scream, until the pressure became unbearable. Her anguished cry shattered the silence as she bolted upright in her bed, breath tearing in and out of her lungs in ragged gasps. The shadows of her chamber recoiled as reality rushed back in, but the nightmare's claws had already left their mark. Though awake, relief did not come. The despair lingered, heavy and suffocating, settling deep in her chest. The crown on the bedside table gleamed faintly in the darkness, not as a symbol of strength, but as a reminder of the cost of every choice she had ever made. The dream was over, the guilt was not.